Welcome back, everybody. I'm here with Colleen, of course.
Hello.
And today we are excited to welcome back Rosalyn Acosta. Hi, Rosalyn.
Hello, it's lovely to be back, you guys.
Yeah, it's so lovely to have you. And it was just lovely to receive your email, and just getting back in touch. And we're excited to hear what you have going on and your wisdom. Really excited about the topics that we kind of decided to talk about today and
Me-
all of your experience with everything. So we have had Rosalind on in the past. So if you want to go back and listen to that episode, but we also have some different things that have come through in your practice and your business. So we're excited to hear about that as well, your knowledge and your wisdom. So um, Rosalind has a lot of wisdom. We've talked about, sustainable travel and things like that, just sustainability in general. I know we're talking about kind of different things today as your business has evolved over time and your practice has evolved over time. But just to kind of give a little bit of a background, but she's, an energy healer, of course, as we have here on the podcast, an artist, and just has a lot of wisdom and training too in different things. So why don't we just go ahead and start? Because, me reading the bio and things like that, you're going to say it all better than I am, of course. Um, why don't we just go ahead and start and catch up as to where you're at, what you've been doing, and where the energy and spirit and all of that has guided you over since the last time we talked to you.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's nice to be here. And yeah, just like with everybody else, just simplifying life, creating pivots. Um, yeah, it's been a nice evolution since last time we spoke. I'm still really working. My focus is my energy healing practice. And then I'm also offering concierge family eco wellness trip planning, which still is dear to my heart because of my years in sustainable travel and working with indigenous communities in different places as well. And just bringing these experiences to families whenever they can travel, what works with their schedules. And then I also have a lifelong background in the arts, more specifically dance. And I always integrate that wisdom as well within my work. The essence of it is always there because, as you know, I consider myself an energetic alchemist. It kind of feels better to me to say that, but it's also, people are like, what the heck is that? So I just will default to energy healer. But as you know, it's an art form working in the vertical realm of energy, and it's fun and it's beginner's mind all the time too, which is nice. You always learn, have new experiences. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. And today I just wanted to talk about some of the hows. That's what I'm calling it, the hows, because I feel like there's a lot of wonderful, much needed, long overdue conversations out there on like transmissions, channeling information, just guidance. But there's some, I feel like, gaps with the hows, kind of making people feel, well, I'm inspired now. How? So.
So true. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and that's one of our favorite things too, is
Mhm.
you'll always hear Colleen say, and the how to.
How do you do it? And
How do
how
you
does
do it?
Reiki help you do it and get there?
Mm-hmm.
And so, specifically, right now,
Mm-hmm.
with the astrological changes, it
Mm-hmm.
is vision into form.
Mm-hmm.
And so, moving out of all the Piscean era into the Aries and Neptune and Saturn conjuncting
Mm-hmm.
definitely is that how to bring your vision into form.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I know that we're about in the third quarter, at the end of the third quarter of the year, but it's still all relevant, whether it's this year, what's prophesied, or beyond 2026. But I just wanted to start with, there's a lot of wonderful conversations out there, mainstream even, which is great, right? About the year of the fire horse and where we are as a collective. And the fire horse year is a rare 60-year cycle. So it's fire energy of the horse and then also a double fire energy, right? So it's calling on just rapid transformation and that we step firmly into decisive action from our authentic self, which is really nice. So it's nice that both modern channels and astrologers are all saying what wisdom keepers, shamans from cultures around the world have also been saying for hundreds and hundreds of years. Just to highlight one of the lineages I study is the Quero shamans of the Andes, and they have been they've been talking about, this change that we're experiencing right now for 500 years. They've been talking about it, called the Pachacuti. So it's a great overturning of the world. So a lot of the chaos that we might be feeling or experiencing in our collective, it's the clearing of the old, the structures crumbling, so the harmony and the ways of the earth can be restored. And so I just want to bring that up, that all this wisdom is coinciding and it's the same, but the vital component is how do we transition? How do we move through this? And people are told, ride the momentum. Don't be at the tail end of the fire and get burnt or left behind, right? So to speak. So it's like, how do we do this? I'm already exhausted, or I have 3 kids and a job, and like, what am I supposed to do, right? So I wanted to kind of just talk about that with you, beautiful souls, today, about the how. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
totally. So your community, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I know you've shared and talked a lot about opening sacred space, the importance of that, but that's always the first step of the how, right? And how you can create a special protected place for yourself to transform, right? And work on your evolution, and also just to live in your daily environment, right? Whether it's your office or your home. So I'm not going to go into how to do that, but I did want to highlight some of the hows of how it works, actually, because people know a lot about Sage and Palo Santo. I'm just highlighting those 2 tools for smudging, and also people use those also to open sacred space. And I feel like it's so nice to see that it's more mainstream, like as opposed to when I was a kid, people were like, smudging, what the heck is that, right? But now you can find sage at Whole Foods, or right? It's very mainstream, which is beautiful. But I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. So both white sage and sagebrush, I grew up in Colorado, so I was more around sagebrush. They both contain thujone and camphor, and those are powerful antimicrobial agents. And so there's actually some science of what's happening. Like, I know we feel like, feels so good, right? But what's actually happening, even there was even a study in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology that found that burning medicinal herbs, it cleared about 94% of airborne bacteria in the room and kept it disinfected for 24 hours. So it's just showing that there is stuff actually happening when you're using that. And they also call it the waterfall effect. So that's like, that fresh feeling you get when you stand by a waterfall or after a rainstorm, a thunderstorm, that just the air, it feels right, fresh. And that is caused by the negative ions. So when you're burning sage, it releases the negative ions, which neutralizes the positive ions. And the positive ions is what's linked to dust, stress, right? Our electronic devices, the EMFs, like all that stuff, right? So it's helping that release off of our field, out of the room, right? The energy. So you're actually physically altering the ionic charge of the air around you. So you're using ancient technology to clear stress and energetic static. So I just want to bring that to light, because people ask sometimes, is it a placebo? Which placebos are good too, but they're just like, is it actually doing anything? And so I'm like, there's actually science that, from what I've researched, there is science out there. And then one tip that I like to mention too. So when I grew up in Colorado, I would just forage for the sagebrush in the fields at our house. And I know we all don't have that access now, and I don't have that now. Um, but I was taught, you never pull from the root, and you don't pull the whole thing up or the medicine won't work. And then also, as well as with, this is for plucking any plants, even if you're, cutting a rose off your rose bush or whatnot. Um, Always offer some reciprocity and intention of thank you to the plant, especially this plant medicine that we're going to be using to help with our sacred space, because I feel like that's often forgotten, and it's very important, just that acknowledgement. And even if you are foraging, when I was a kid, I used to also carry cornmeal in my pocket and just like give little cornmeal offerings to the plants. But you don't have to make it complicated. Even just having an intention, like saying thank you to the plant, is good. So that's sage. And then Palo Santo, another lovely one. So Palo Santo, it's rich in D-limonene, and I'm not an expert, so I might be butchering the terms. But from what I've researched, this is a lipophilic fat-loving molecule. So which is cool about that, it's like a tiny molecular weight, so it gives it like VIP access to cross the blood-brain barrier. So that inhibits the stress response in the hypothalamus that lowers our cortisol levels. So it signals safety to the system. So just by lighting that, right, it's doing that, which is really cool. And then since Palo Santo is so popular now, I really wanted to bring to light the ethical way of selecting it as well, because you're never supposed to cut down a Palo Santo tree. If you cut a living tree, then the wood has no smell or medicinal oil. So the tree must die of natural causes and lie on the forest floor. It's estimated 4 to 10 years. And it's only during the surrender, the natural life cycle of the tree, the resting, does the resin migrate into the heartwood. And then that's where the medicine is born, from the process of letting go, like the death, the life cycle. So when you like buy Palo Santo, even online, just make sure it has, like for example, if it's from Peru, like the SURFOR certification, SERFOR. Just look for ethical harvesting responsibly certifications of like naturally fallen wood or whatnot, and that will really help to make sure that you're using this plant medicine properly. And then again, when you're using the stick, definitely thank it. And then that would be good. That'd be good reciprocity and right relationship with those two wonderful plant medicines. So I'm just highlighting those, but I've been also researching others as well.
You're muted, Robyn.
Yeah, I just realized. I appreciate that, because I know that that's been, conversations and questions that people have been having around ethical sourcing and things like that. As one point to your points.
Yeah,
so that's
the beginning of the how. How do you start this whole thing? Well, setting up your sacred space and not feel guilty, like, oh, what did I do?
I have a quick question about that. So I would imagine, because those two plant medicines have their, like the actual science behind why and how they're working. And I know that essential oils, the different components of essential oils. So I could probably assume that, so like I have cedar trees in my yard, and I definitely always talk to them about, donating to our home and causes and smoke clearing. I would imagine that probably each one and version of these have their own properties that we can probably just look up and ask about.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, cedar's one, sweetgrass.
There's a lot, but
no,
like,
that I have been researching for different purposes. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight those two because you see them used all the time,
and they're well known. And also, I know people have questions about, how to source them. So
Yeah,
other
yeah.
things you can find online as well.
Yeah, and it's simple too. Like you don't have to stress out. That's like the last thing you want to do. It's just,
Yeah.
but just like even when you're doing your Google search, if you were going to order it on, just ethically sourced
Yeah.
sage, or just like put in those keywords, and then things will pop up. But don't feel like you're a bad person because you've never done it to date. It's okay. Your intention was not bad. So I'm not
Yeah.
trying to like guilt everybody.
Yeah. When we know better, we do better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So it's
So,
just more
okay.
knowledge. Yeah.
So that's the first step.
Yeah.
So
So
then,
that's the how, and then I wanted of like setting up sacred space, and then I just feel a real strong calling to be blunt, to just have light holders step up. It's time to step up more. We're like get out of complacency, a calling to just the world needs more light holders. We need your lights. We need your everybody is your own sage. We need everybody to offset the heaviness of the times, to also help bring the transition that's coming. We need more. So it's calling to step up. And so I feel I would love to see a world personally where just like everybody has a dietitian, everybody has, or not everybody, but you have a dietitian, a yoga instructor, you have your general practitioner, you have your, no, a massage therapist. You go to these specialists to help you with different parts. So we're really good at doing that. And there is a calling for more people to seek out people like us, like Rob and Colleen, you guys with your wisdom to help them navigate their energy bodies, to help them in their conscious evolution. That's the calling. And that's what's still missing when you look at the masses out there. Like there's more people coming and awakening and realizing, oh, I can't do this alone. There's the era of self-help, which is important. I feel that that's just, we need the village right now. Even I don't do it alone, right? I have my trusted colleagues that I get tune-ups from, or if I see, I'm like, oh, I see a cloud, I need an extraction. I'm not going to try to do it myself because that's, while it might be possible, it's very hard. Why not get some help, right? So it's just a calling to take care of this side of us that's been neglected for too long, and that will help with all these things that we're seeing afflicted there. Um, and so when you work with an energy healer, which I'm sure your community is well versed in with Reiki, things start to peel off, and even just terms of when you clear imprints on your chakras or in your field, or you're just evolving, right? Your heightened senses might be strengthened, right? And I always want to tell people that think of these as tools to navigate the vertical realm of energy, just like we have our biological senses to navigate the horizontal daily life. We have these tools because oftentimes I feel like people, it's exciting, like, oh, I'm seeing so much with my inner eye, like it's so exciting that they stop there and they don't continue on their evolutionary path, right? Because they're just like enmeshed in the awe of it. But these are just tools to navigate the vertical realm, right? Um, I don't talk about myself much, but yeah.
Can you explain the vertical and horizontal realm? Because I think that that's not a term everybody understands. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just describe it as, and I know other people in this industry do as well. Like horizontal, just think of your daily life, a life of matter, our physical body, right?
Okay.
And so we have our biological senses. They say what, 35 of them or something. There's not just like sight, touch, taste, or like. So we have all of these that we use to navigate the horizontal realm of our daily lives, and then there's our vertical realm, which is our energy body, our true essence. That's where all of our psychic heightened senses come into play because we're using it to navigate this quantum energy realm, right? And
Okay.
so I just think of it, and it's like the vertical and the horizontal, and everything kind of just nicely balances out, moves amongst. Well, you want it to. Many people will just stay heavily in the horizontal if they're not, opening to their vertical realm per se. But yeah, it's nice to have a balance, right?
Yeah.
And so going back to, I know your audience and listeners are probably very versed in all the senses, but I just wanted to explain some of the differentiation. So you think of, if you classify our heightened senses in three types: a seer, a feeler, and a knower. So the seers are all the clear senses. There's so many, but just the common ones I'll reiterate is clairvoyance, seeing, clairaudience, hearing, claircognizance, knowing, clairsentience, feeling, right? And there's so many more, right? So those are the seers. And then the feelers, so the like clairsentience is like the how, using those tools, like for when I'm working with a client, like I feel fear coming from maybe their liver, or from this part of them, their chakra. um it's the how. A feeler, though, is someone who is the who. It's like always on state of feeling, right? So you may walk into a room, you're like, I was happy 5 minutes ago and now I'm picking up on all this energy, right? So that's something it's always on. And personally, I feel like that's the hardest one to in my lifetime, to manage. I'm so much better than when I was a teenager, but um, I'm what people would classify as someone highly attuned to the vertical. I've had more than 6 active, um, of these senses, very active since I was a kid. So I've had to learn lots of times hard ways of, just how to have the boundaries. So the feeler, I just wanted to talk about because I've been meeting more feelers in my practice, having them come to me, and they're just overwhelmed. So that's like the big issue with a feeler, is being overwhelmed.
Would
Um,
you say a feeler is similar to an empath? Would they be in the
so yeah,
same
empathic, feeler. Yeah, I
empathic?
kind of use them interchangeably. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so like I said, like clairsentience is like an ability to, like, I sense this from the coming from that person. Like, that differentiation. You're like,
Yeah.
this is not my emotion, this is theirs, right? Feelers, though, you just pick it up, right?
Yeah.
So it's like important to have the boundaries, working on your energetic boundaries. And then also the first thing, and even as a teenager, and definitely in my 20s, I started to say, okay, is this my feeling or someone else's? That was always the thing I would do. And then if it's a loved one, you could call them, and even sometimes that disengages it. If you don't know the source, then maybe just generally try to disengage, send love. But also movement, you can walk, you can dance, you can exercise. That'll help get some movement going. And if that still doesn't work, because I know it can be really hard if it's intense emotions that you're picking up on in the collective that you don't know from where necessarily, the use of counter polarities is so effective in so many things. So like if it's a heaviness, bring in humor, and like force yourself to watch a short video that's ridiculously silly, right? Or just use counter polarities to bring balance to those situations, and that helps a lot. And then the last one is a knower. Just again, it's not like claircognizance, which is using an ability. It's an on state all the time where you're just like, you have flashes like, I just know this, right? So again, for knowers, their biggest downfall is self-doubt and just doubting the information they're getting. So yeah, so I just wanted to kind of clarify that a little bit, because as people are working on their path, and it's exciting, they might notice that some of these senses will be coming on board more, or just strengthening, and just really just being aware of them. And then also, don't get stuck there. You're still evolving. Don't use them as tools. Just don't get enamored with them too much. Like, just like, I don't get enamored with, like, I can taste something like a strawberry, like to the point that I stop eating, like, so yeah. um so I hope that clarifies things a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to add too, a little bit of the science, because I know you do your Reiki shares, and you've talked a lot about it too. And for even ways I've explained to my children, or just someone who's new to Reiki or energy healing, of like, how does it work? I'm in London and you're in San Francisco. How is it working, right? Um, there are a lot of great, like, even quantum physicists out there that are really corroborating, what we've been saying and teaching as well. And just mentioning some of that, like, even Albert Einstein, he described it as spooky action at a distance, right? So that's the phenomenon where two physically separate particles, they react simultaneously, so faster than the speed of light. And then so there's that, and then there's so that leads to non-locality, where the understanding that objects are not local to just one point, right? So in the quantum realm, in the of energy, right, everything is interconnected. That's why space-time doesn't matter. So that's why we can connect with each other's energy fields when we're not physically at the same location. And going back to, if you're a feeler, one thing that might happen too, I feel it's not as common, is quantum entanglement with people. Because particles can be entangled across space, so can people, and this has been more commonly studied with twins, which makes sense. But where it's more of like where you pick up the physical sensations of another. So like an example is when I was in high school, like one day I could not swallow all day long. I couldn't eat my lunch. I couldn't drink water that easily. So then I got home, and then I learned that my grandmother had a stroke and she couldn't swallow. And the minute my dad said that, I was like, oh. So I was experiencing quantum entanglement with my grandmother. And again, my lesson to strengthen my boundaries. And I mean, it's a lot. But so those are more rare, I feel like. But if also some of your audience is
It happens.
experiencing that.
Yeah,
it
for
happens.
sure. Yeah, it
And
definitely happens.
yeah.
Well, and they just won a Nobel Prize for the non-locality experiments. What was that, in like 22 or 23, somewhere in that realm?
Who is this? Oh, the
Somebody,
Nobel Prize.
they won a Nobel Prize for
Yeah,
their, I think it was like
yeah,
the actual evidence of non-locality
yeah.
between atoms. I can't think of it. At the time I knew, but it's been years. I can't
Mhm.
retain that much in my brain. But
I
yeah,
know. Yeah,
like,
I know the Nobel Prize laureate, or that. Yeah.
yes, yeah. They can
Uh,
Google it. It's all
yeah,
right.
I can't remember right now, but I know
Just
what you're
Google
talking
it.
about.
I can't remember it off the top of my head. That's not my job.
I know.
My job is to understand how it corroborates what we all experience,
Yeah.
you know?
One
So,
woman that's really good, a physicist that I've heard, Teresa Bullard, she's really good too, because she's also like really much very into energy healing. And I feel like if you're really interested in that, listen to her explain things, so she can explain exactly what we talk about in our energy healing lingo from a quantum physicist perspective. And it makes so much sense, but it has the other terminology. You're like, oh,
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Oh, you're
What
catching
is
up.
her name again?
Teresa Bullard, I believe it's
Okay.
Bullard. But yeah, check her out. She's been on
Yeah.
some podcast interviews as well. And I don't know, for those of you who really like the science, it's nice.
Yeah, it's helpful.
Mhm.
My friend is a professor, scientist, and it was one day, he was like, I just listened to, and she works in neuroscience of behavioral health in compassion and empathy. That's what they
Mhm.
study in her department. And anyway, she had called me. She's like, I just watched the most fascinating presentation about shamanism and drumming and all of this thing.
Mm.
Welcome.
Welcome to
We
my world.
know it's great out here.
We're all saying the same thing with
Yeah.
different
But it's
language and
good. It's good to have the
explanation. It
research.
is.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, and
and her research was the pain transference,
Yeah. Yeah. The
speaking of healers, and that was
speaking of
her
mm,
study.
empaths,
mhm,
social transference of pain. She actually
mhm,
discovered that through the olfactory system, mice were experiencing pain-like symptoms, but they weren't experiencing pain. It was other like beings in the room that were
mhm,
experiencing it, and
mm,
they would pick it up from their olfactory senses. And so it's called social transparency, social transference of pain. But
mm,
really what it was proving is empathy,
mm.
you
Mhm.
Yeah,
know. And we
yeah.
might all sense that differently, because obviously the senses of, a mouse is going to be like a dog. Their senses and their intuition comes through their
Mm-hmm.
nose, their extra senses.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see that because they just have stronger senses in different areas than humans do. Like we can't smell the same way they can, but we have, we can see better than they can. As
Mm-hmm.
an example, I know
Yeah.
other species can see better than we can, those kinds of things. So, and for us, like our senses come through in just different ways. And I would say it's like where we are stronger is that energetic sense that we have as human beings. And
Mm-hmm.
and so to me it's like, oh yeah, that's empathy, and they're just
Mm-hmm.
experiencing empathy in a different way than a human experiences. Although maybe
Mm-hmm.
there is something to the olfactory, to those actual horizontal senses like you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about, but it's probably more of the vertical senses that we experience that through than the horizontal senses, which in this case the animal was sensing it through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so interesting. I'll have to look that up because
Yeah,
that's
look it
interesting.
up. Yeah,
So nice.
yeah.
Well, that took me into thinking about, well, actually, do we know for sure that animals aren't engaged in the vertical?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I would think that they
They
are,
are,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
but I
yeah,
also think that it doesn't need to, like, doesn't need to necessarily be separate, but like a dog,
yeah,
that's why they
absolutely.
have therapy animals, therapy,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
because they can sense when you're upset or,
Mhm.
need care. And
Mm-hmm.
however they sense it, maybe it's through the energetics, maybe it's through the sensing of our body chemistry, changing. To me
Mm-hmm.
it's like, well, they don't necessarily need to be separate. That is part of what we talk about in animal reiki, that they can be the
Mm-hmm.
same, that it's okay
Mm-hmm.
that our senses are also our intuition.
Mm-hmm. And also, since we're going on the tangent on the animals, is it from your experiences? Because what I've heard is that animals are more of a collective consciousness. Like we all obviously are part of a collective consciousness as well, but we also have our individual consciousness essence, right? And animals are more a part of a collective consciousness, if that makes sense. Is that kind of
I think they're just more in tune with the fact that there isn't a separation.
mm,
And humans, I think, have gone into the level of separation around it. Maybe and not in all cultures, right? I mean, your experience with indigenous cultures, they probably have a lot of them have more of the awareness of that
mm-hmm,
collective consciousness, that in this culture we do have more of this idea of separation.
mm-hmm,
But
yeah,
really when it comes down to it, we're animals,
mm-hmm, yeah,
we aren't
yeah,
separate. And I think animals just have less layers. They I think too, like, humans create, we do have a different kind, and I don't mean this in a hierarchical, we do have a different
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of
Mm-hmm,
intelligence,
mm-hmm,
but animals in the same parallel have a different kind of intelligence in a
mm-hmm,
good way also. It's not to be better than, it's just different in a lot of ways. Theirs is better than
mm-hmm,
ours. So, I think we just experience our world and our minds and our senses and everything just a little bit differently. But I
mm-hmm,
think that we actually are a part of that collective consciousness too. They just are
yeah.
more aware of it, and their senses, like telepathic senses, haven't been
Mm-hmm,
suppressed. So dogs have telepathic senses,
mm-hmm,
and when you talk to animal communicators, that's how they are communicating with them, is telepathically.
mm-hmm,
And so I think that they do have that. They just it's just not separate for them, right? It just
mm-hmm,
is for them.
mm-hmm,
And so yeah, I do think that they have this collective consciousness that maybe we've gone away from a little
yeah,
bit more than we should.
yeah,
Well, and
yeah.
it depends on the species. So
Yeah.
you
Mm-hmm,
think of crows. Crows, man, they definitely know each other across the collective. And I think even though we think of ourselves as individual, if you really think about it, we also are pretty collective consciousness too.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know.
And also what I've learned too, even in terms of just like humans, dolphins, orca, whales, the only ones that don't have death programmed into their system DNA. Like that's why you'll see a grandmother whale or a grandmother dolphin, where with in other species they may not live that long, right? So it's really interesting to think about that too.
Can you expand a little bit on that, Rosalind? That's really an
Yeah.
interesting concept.
Oh,
I don't know
it's
if
just
I've heard of it.
from some of, yeah, just from some of what my the shamanic teachings from Alberto Villoldo, the Four Winds Society, and yeah, I know he talks about that a lot. Just naming those are the only animals in the animal kingdom that share the same thing as us, where and just like where it's, I don't want to put make like sir, say things that aren't completely accurate, so maybe
Yeah.
shouldn't go into this as much,
Okay,
but
that's fair.
it's something to
To look up.
yeah, because it's
Okay.
very
And
interesting.
so what you mean by that is that we don't have death programmed into our DNA. So that would mean like if we're talking about like a in the difference of like a dog, if we're thinking about it in that way, like
Mhm.
they are maybe more understanding that it's just is a part of the cycle of life. Is I mean, not that I don't understand
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
Well, it's
level of
like
grief that we experience.
I think it's more I don't know, like again, I feel like I mean there's the genetics behind it, like actual in the DNA, but then yeah, I don't know. I'm at a loss for the words of
Okay, we'll look
explaining
it
it.
up. No
Yeah,
problem.
but no,
It's
it's
interesting.
yeah, it is interesting for sure.
Okay.
But
All right. Another one we'll write down along with
yeah,
Teresa Bullard.
yeah,
Things we love to think about and
Yeah,
look
yeah,
up.
yeah.
totally.
I
And
know
both
we switched to the whole
metaphysically,
animal. Should have been prepared for this whole animal
No,
discussion.
no, no. It's totally understandable. We do go on tangents. You're good.
No, no, it's lovely tangents. I'm
I
just like,
do want
oh,
to add, as people are looking this up, remember to look it up metaphysically
hmm,
and
yes,
through research.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
through online. And check
yes.
it out. Find the
And I
book.
wanted to going back to the hows too
Yes.
Yeah,
Come back around.
great.
with so I was urging people to seek out if they're already listening to this podcast, if they are seeking it out, Reiki help, practitioners if they're not a practitioner, but also you have access to your own healing streams, so even things you can do by yourself, even if you have no inclination to get trained but you still want to do things for yourself. I always like to empower people that you can, right? And so, after you open your sacred space, you can even, and whatever breathing, meditation to help you just get balanced and grounded, and just call on your healing streams because we all have our own healing streams. It's a different frequency than Reiki energy that you can just tap into, and you can, if you, maybe you'll pick it up, like it just feels different. It's a different color for different people. But just have that wash over you, help ask it to cleanse what's needed to cleanse in your body. And I think that's really empowering for people to know that they have tools that they can ask their guides to also send them their healing frequencies, and like because it's a co-creative relationship. So there's a lot that people can do, and it's not hard. You don't have to think like, oh, you know, it's a hard, I need an hour to do this. No, just
Yeah.
fit it
No,
in.
that's a good
Yeah.
point because it makes it accessible to a lot of
Yeah.
different people that especially broaching it for the first time. I think, like you
Mhm.
said, creating space, but then also even just starting with some breath work, some meditation, and you
Mhm.
can find that easily online and,
Mhm.
for free or even like things like qigong and some of those
Mhm.
kinds of things
Mhm.
that you can see there's a lot of access to those things too.
Yeah, definitely. And then I also wanted, and I'm sure everybody understands now, like that energy healing, working with this invisible body, right, our light body. Um, it works so well in tandem with everything. Like if so, even with treating, like as you probably help your clients, like if they're going to therapy and then doing this, it works great. Or physical ailments, and yeah, no, I like even um, I've worked with some people with cancer, for example, and one woman came to me, and she didn't tell me she had cancer before, but I saw like a black mass at her throat, and then I saw some white strands starting to leave the mass, and just from the information that her guides and my guides were telling me during the session, is like, don't touch the black mass, but just I cleared up those white strands. And then after the session, she told me she had thyroid cancer. And then she's been cancer free for a year, and they were able to remove the mass. There was no metastasis, which were those white strands. So that's why I feel like with certain things, like energy healing is all about like prevention, right? It's easier to catch an imprint, clear it up on the energy field and the chakras before it somatizes into the body, right? But it's all in that regard. It works in tandem wonderfully with it. Even with people with dementia, just so, like, for example, when they're not so cognitively there, talk to their higher self. You can tap into their higher self, and it's so nice to just hear how they're really doing, see what's actually going on, to kind of reassure you, like, okay, like, for example, I'll talk to my mom a lot because she has severe dementia, and she's always been receptive to energy healing. But one day she just like stopped me. She's like, with a distance session that I was just sending to her, and she's just like, you don't need to heal me. You need to stop. And so I was like a faucet, like, okay, I accept and surrender. But so now I will commonly, yes, I'll still talk to her on the phone, but I also will talk to her higher self, and just to see what her needs are, how she's feeling. So that's also something I encourage people to do. And you might be surprised. You might be like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. You might be surprised. So even when you're in your sacred space, you're in your meditative state, and if there's a loved one that you want to reach and see how they're really doing, try to talk to their higher self. So there's so many things that are out there, like little hacks you can do to try to get more information and connection, and yeah. But yeah, it's so effective for so many. And I'm sure as you guys know, there's so many case studies, right? Of just like in your own practice. It's like a lab. We have our little labs of all these case studies of things that have happened with our clients.
Yeah. Well, and you are also working with youth. So tell
Mm-hmm.
us about that work too.
Yeah, so it's another, in addition to my desire to call people up to step into their light holder roles, I also am including youth in that as well. I've always felt a strong calling as well to include them in it. Probably because from my background, I had like so many of us as adults now, we had because of society, had to like kind of close that part off. It's not always safe to talk about it, right? Or in mainstream society. And so I'm just trying to create a village for these youth so they can understand what's going on in them. They can learn about their energy bodies. They can stay attuned and not shut off their heightened senses. They can strengthen them because those are powerful tools, as we mentioned. Yeah, and just help them because on their conscious evolution, because these young kids nowadays are a different breed. So so yeah, and also people are like, oh, as are aware of too, that people wonder, oh, are we born with all our chakras? Like, yeah, we're born with them. They just awaken. Well, in general, there's always exceptions, but in general, they just awaken and awaken at different stages. So specifically, since I'm doing a 13-year-old teen rite of initiation training, so that would be like the sacral chakra, which is more awakens more around 7 to 14, I believe. And so that's like so important, as like that's the seat of our ovaries, testes, but you also have the adrenal glands. So there's like all this intensity and transformation happening at that location, and then your energy system. And so just really helping those youth and harnessing that. And yeah, it's I'm excited for it. I'm offering it for my son and other teen boys on March 22nd in Sausalito, California. And then I'll be also offering for teen girls later this year. And then of course my little kids, they're like, I want to do it. They're in elementary school. So I have done like parent child workshops and, different things for the younger crowd. But they all love it, right? Like, as you grew up doing this as well. So it's much needed to give them this space and to have other friends they can talk to about this side of themselves that people don't talk about. And also I feel by doing that, also the parents, like I've had a parent who's like, oh, I wish I had that when I was a kid, or even the most seemingly reserved conservative parents that you wouldn't think know about energy healing, they are also like sharing. So by offering this training, I've been noticing, and I'm also allowing the parents to be involved in it too. So encouraging, hopefully in the household, it'll be a normal part of their conversations sometimes as well. Just learn from each other as well.
Well, I think too, it's so true that the kids being born now, well, really even it did start a lot with like, millennials, Gen Zs, really having a lot more interest and awareness of consciousness and the pursuit of it. And so I think then we see even the younger generations than those are born into it. And because there are so many more of us now contributing to it being more mainstream and more normalized, that the kids are going to get to grow up at a new level of remembering. And definitely than I was. I was 69, and they were still debating whether humans had instincts. Like, and one of mine that was, well, I remember starting to question authority before this, but this was a really big one, whether animals had souls. And I was like,
Yeah.
I like, yeah, we're going to fight about that. And I was fifth grade. Like, yes, animals have souls.
Yeah.
So we've come a long way from the awareness and accessibility. So I think the way you bring in the how-to, and that is so much of where we are right now because the how-to exists and the tools exist in so many different modalities, so many
Yeah.
different ways that are going to appeal and be the right way for each person. I think right now we are in that age, the change of the age that you were talking about that has been prophesied and been known about right now. And for us, they call it the great shift, like, and moving into the pursuit of our natural human intelligence and intellect that has been suppressed and underdeveloped. It's been not only suppressed, that's at the biggest part of it, or oppressed, but just plain underdeveloped, and normalized. Kids that can perceive. Having grandkids and getting to watch them grow up, and even the older ones that are 19 and 15, I think are having a different experience of remembering who they are because of their peer groups. And say Robyn's daughter as a 9-year-old. I think there's even that big of a difference. And then probably the babies being born now with, there's a new level of brain wiring, or something that they're born with that I think is very different. Yeah.
I was going to say something. I don't know if you can hear a fire truck popping up going by.
Yeah,
So
right.
I'll
Yeah, go ahead. That's all right if you have a fire
Mute for a
truck.
second, no problem. I think that's true. And Rosalyn, you kind of said this earlier, that also normalizing it in conversation is super helpful for teens. and older kids, because I think that that's too where things can get a little lost, with it all, because it is a part of normal development that they do care what their peers think, more than maybe even their parents. So,
Yeah.
and so if you can normalize it among friends and things like that, that's super helpful, because then they're not the weird one for having
Yeah.
the parents that do the weird stuff, and therefore kind of keep it at arm's length. And
Mm-hmm.
even if that is the case, because I see that with Luna a little bit with my daughter, and I know she'll come back to it, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Even if she moves away from it for a little bit, I know she'll come back to it. But when I see her life force get low, when I see her
Mm-hmm.
just kind of, it's like, let me give you some Reiki, and we'll just sit
Yeah.
here. That's very normal in our house.
Yeah.
It's
The fact that
very,
you talk about it. Yeah.
we talk about it. We talk
Mm-hmm.
about, different aspects of energy healing, and she
Mm-hmm.
loves crystals. So we talk about things like that. And, so yeah, it is. It's just normalized in our house.
And it helps so much too for a parent, because I've done work with specifically for parents, because even just like with the nighttime fears, right? Like,
Yeah.
why are little kids so susceptible to nightmares, and the different energies they're picking up on in the evening, and just like how to help them with that, right? It just helps in so many regards when you just are throughout their development as a child to a teen to right and onward. So it's nice to just include it as part of daily conversation. And then also I've also wanted to highlight that I've had adults and youth, whether on the spectrum, or one mother with epilepsy, feeling like it's a handicap, um, and just tapping into her frequency, for example, of that is just like I feel like this is a subset of people who are at a different frequency that's exciting. It's a gift. It's a it's just like, yes, they may be more sensitive to how the normal society functions on a different frequency level, but it's not a handicap in that regard, because they're tapping into this other channel that is very refined in a sense, and it's so beautiful. So I just put that out there for people who may have these labels. I'm always one that I don't like labels, even if it's medical label, because it kind of creates a story in your mind, and this is who I am, right? Just another thing that you have to peel off, right? When you're trying to get to the core of who you are. So, but yeah, it's like, so same with these kids. They just need the support that helps with that frequency, so they can learn how to manage it and like navigate it and use it and all of its beautiful aspects. Um, so I don't know where that came from. Actually, I'm just like,
Beautiful.
Yeah. Well, the body models aren't fitting the frequencies that are
mm-hmm,
belonging to the body models.
mm-hmm,
But according to human design, I guess that's changing. I don't know much more about it than
mm-hmm,
that, but we had somebody on here who was an expert in human design, and starting in February 2027.
2027. Yeah.
Yeah, the body models are going to be changing a bit. Like the DNA is actually going to be evolving. So we'll see.
well, that's
That both
also
those kind of
correlates with
frequencies.
what in the shamanic studies they talk about how we're stepping into a new era of humanity as Homo luminous. So it kind of sounds like, from a human design perspective, it kind of sounds similar to might be.
Well, and it's something I've talked about from the very beginning of my Reiki practice and shamanic practice, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and an awareness of people operating at a different level, soul coherence level,
Mm-hmm.
different frequencies on the planet, and how this body model often can't hold that frequency.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so part of speaking of the descendants, maybe we were doing that before we started the recording, but working with the descendants, that is some of the communication from them is observing these times, like what needs to happen to this body model to evolve to the level that can hold these frequencies that are being born. And,
No,
I'm sure from a scientific viewpoint, there's an evolutionary stage of it, that we're explaining from a perspective of, connecting with the descendants. But there's actually a shift, I think, that is needed, and we naturally do evolve our physicality as well as our consciousness.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And even just like what you're talking about, preparing ourselves. So like even um, just like, that's what I talk about too with a conscious evolution process, wherever you're at, like that is it, right? Where you're just like evolving. And so like what you could contain, what your system could contain as a vessel, maybe when you were 14 is different than when you're 35, right? So it is that nice process and progression, and you can never de-evolve.
Well,
Yeah.
it's why, yeah, right. It's why too people talk about how much more sensitive they get when they start energy
Mm-hmm.
healing. They have food sensitivities that they may
Yeah.
not have had before. They can't drink alcohol anymore like
Mm-hmm.
they may have used to. And
Yeah.
so I think it's the same thing. It's like the body model just doesn't match the frequency. And you
Mm-hmm.
get more sensitive in general, which is a good thing. You get more
Mm-hmm.
sensitive to everything, which is a
Mm-hmm.
good thing, but also some of the frequencies of the things don't necessarily match that. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Learning to manage it as it comes and as,
Yeah,
as it
exactly.
changes. And
I used to
yeah.
be able to eat junk food and now I can't eat junk food. It's
Oh,
like,
darn.
well, the temple, I mean, I'm not saying that for me. I can well, I don't feel good. I'm just saying it in general, like it's a common thing that you hear. Is that I
Mm-hmm.
had to go scent free with everything. It's like, yeah, it's you're more sensitive. You can't do it
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And just like when people will start playing around, like going back to the different senses of just
Mhm.
even, I'm more of a receptive medium or channeler, but I know people may find that they may be able to do full mediumship. I mean, I have never felt inclined to try. I just receive the information, but my consciousness stays inside my body, like my soul. But so yeah, just if you are like for people, if you are picking up on new strengths in your system, just also make sure that you are maybe get a little training or knowledge, read up on how to safely also, especially when it comes to channeling, definitely safely do things. If you're feeling drawn and called to like explore that part of you as well. Because yeah, everything's always changing for sure.
Well, I think that I even see or talk about that expansion can be also lead to resistance,
Mm-hmm.
because when you use the words you can't de-evolve,
Mm-hmm.
that can be, I actually I wrote an article called Reiki Heals Resistance, and that was the whole thing, is that the resistance is often to give us the opportunity to decide if we want to keep going up the spiral,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't de-evolve.
Mm-hmm.
And it does change,
Mm-hmm.
and you do have periods of, spiritual expansion in the same way, I think, as if you are working out, and you have
Mm-hmm.
to physically work out and you have to expand and then you have to rest and you have to expand, and it develops over time. So, for instance, at this point, after 30 years, I can be in an expanded state of consciousness for a longer time than I
Mm-hmm.
could when I was younger and first starting. Like I had to
Mm-hmm.
grow into it, and I still grow into it
Mm-hmm.
because it's unending. And then there are also periods where I'm like, I'm good for a while. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm kind of at capacity.
You're
Um,
like, I need a break.
just I'm gonna just maintain right here. And yes, I know I'll want to go back up more, but I also
Mm-hmm.
need to just be in this place for a while and adjust and adapt to it. And like I say, for me now, I can be in the energy for
Mm-hmm.
days on end and
Mm-hmm.
be comfortable, but it took me quite a while to get there.
Yeah, definitely. I can relate because I even find, and as mothers, I feel like I've had to learn how to be very efficient with my even time in the vertical. So even before, say, a session, like I'll open sacred space, and then like literally, and like I do my practice breath work, like, but even if I only have time, like 5 minutes, and I can go deep and open, and I'm there, like it doesn't take long. So I've gotten very efficient in a short amount
I
of
love
time
that.
because
Yeah.
I don't have the luxury sometimes to have an hour
That's
of preparation.
even a good term, spiritual efficiency.
Yes. Yeah.
I fully agree with that.
We all
Yeah.
And
talk
I
about
think
that. I
we
just
do
hadn't
talk
put the
about,
two words together, like
yeah, well,
spiritual
because
efficiency.
if we couldn't
Mhm.
have it fit into our life like that, then we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
mean, it just is the reality of living in our modern lives right now that and if we,
Well, and think of it in earlier life, I think of like my mother's generation is I was still probably a toddler when she actually got like a real washing machine.
yeah, yeah,
And
right.
not the, so,
Mhm.
speaking of time, I think
Yeah,
probably always
Mhm.
been true, but
that's true.
it's different kind of it now. But yeah, that's a funny, she's here. Speaking
Yeah.
of that,
Yeah.
she's here going, yeah,
Yeah.
well, I did that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
Um,
helpful. Like, I mean, do you, I mean, channel messages in a different, like, how do you do it as well? In terms of, I notice you are hearing the input, so definitely you're receiving the information. Um, do you explore other aspects of it, like of maybe
well,
partial or full body mediumship, or in terms of sharing that type of clairaudient messages or into verbal
well,
messages?
it's actually a pretty significant part of our practice and what we
Mhm.
teach.
Mhm.
And we use Reiki energy to do it. My background, and then Robin grew up in it, in shamanism,
Mhm.
has been an extensive level
Yeah.
of that training
Yeah.
and working with Reiki with it. So, in my particular skill set and training, I have done the mediumship where
Mhm.
they are merged and
Mhm.
speaking through me, seeing through
Mhm.
me. My preference of channeling is more observational
Yeah.
narrative
Yeah.
rather than the merged style. I
Mhm.
mean, I have that skill, but it's not my preference of
Yeah.
the way I do it. And I think that, how you were talking about the feelers and the empathy before, it's one of the things for me that Reiki energy really made the difference.
Mhm.
And I could perceive what was somebody else's and what was mine because Reiki's doing the work. So even if I'm channeling what I'm observing Reiki
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
I get to be in the energy of it also. So it's not just
Mhm.
like I'm watching a movie and saying,
Yeah.
oh, here's what's happening, and I know, I'm speaking for Robin and how we also, it's what we teach in our
Mhm.
all our next step classes and 12
Mhm.
heavens classes and the Reiki journey techniques that we really work with,
Yeah. No,
and
that's
how to
really,
have skill with it
yeah. Yeah, I
and the
feel like
how
that's
to,
the
how do you
key.
have the
Mhm.
skill and the
Mhm.
ethics and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
discernment that you need with it all.
Mhm.
Because like you say, it can be exciting. It's like,
Mhm.
guess what came through? And like you'll never believe what the tree
Mhm.
said,
Mhm.
and and that kind of thing. But and what comes
Yeah, I
through
like
is
how
the
I
time.
was gonna say that as well. Discernment is huge, like
Discernment
very
is the key.
huge. Yeah, and
Listening is the foundation.
and I like yeah, I think that's so nice what you're talking about, just being a clear channel, because that's always how I prepare myself, is I always like get my brain out of the way, and so I'm
Yeah.
just a clear hollow reed is how I say it as well. And that's always like when people are asking like red flags for picking a practitioner. Well, of course they have to resonate with you first, and then maybe if they're talking more about themselves, then that's an indication, during the session, or if they're talking a lot, I don't know. And then also just projection and not ability to just be out of the picture and observe and not project anything. That's key. Yeah. But discernment is, yeah, essential for whether you're doing stuff with yourself as well, because you have to have discernment with yourself and integrity to know, like you're saying, like, okay, maybe I need to stop with this progression because I need to rest and integrate for a while. Or if you're working with someone else, even with my mom who's given me permission, and just honoring the boundaries as well, with anybody as well. So the integrity, the ethics, yeah, is so key. And with youth and animals, it's
So,
everybody.
Rosalyn, I just want to make sure, because we were kind of going into the house. I just want to make sure before we, start to wrap up that that we've covered all of your house.
Well, I'm sure there are more, but I don't want this to be too long of a conversation. So no, I'm happy with what we've chatted about. I just, wanted to kind of dispel some of the aspects that people may not have known with some of the tools, and just also empower them to know that there's things they can do on their own. And then also just really encouraging them to, just like you go to your general practitioner, go to an energy healer of whatever sort that fits with you to help you with this time. Because even as professional healers, we also get our help as well. It's not self-help, it's a village. A village community is so important. And then, just my message again, that the world needs your evolution now, everybody's evolution right now. And each time one of us progresses, the ripple effect for humanity is astounding. And we need more light holders to just step up, offset the heaviness, and more importantly, you owe it to yourself. So you deserve to have also the support on this journey and feel held, and someone to like kind of be a conduit to help you when you need help. So it's all a part of the village, and it's fun, it's all inspiring, and it doesn't have to be scary or work. It's curiosity. Bring your curiosity to it as well. Yeah.
That beginner's mind, that childlike curiosity.
Yeah. And they can even, like, if I wanted to leave a mantra for anybody, it was one that popped into my head. It's like, I do not hide my light to make the room comfortable. I hold my light to make the room clear. And maybe that would be a good one just for, even for youth too. Just like, I'm not going to hide my light to make people comfortable. I'll hold my light to make everything clear. So.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead and share how people can get a hold of you, a little bit more about your practice. You said you're in Sausalito.
Well, I'm actually in San Francisco. I'm just doing the training in Sausalito. But yeah, no, I do energy sessions like you. I have a strong shamanic, Reiki master background, lots of different lineages from both sides of my family as well. So it just all integrates all together as the universe and spirit wants it to. But so I work, distance and in-person sessions here in San Francisco, and Live Heal Travel is my website, livehealtravel.com. So you can always reach out, and pretty easy.
The travel concierge, that we talked about that on the
I need to update that page. It's on my to-do list, but that's, I mean,
ever
there's always these things.
Always the to-do list.
Yeah.
So do you do concierge for only eco travel, or do you do concierge for family travel in general?
The whole inspiration is for families, because I was seeing a gap of, I mean, there is family travel stuff out there, but just that bridges the sustainable part, like, and then also the deep cultural immersion part, where if you want to take, like, for example, a Turkey itinerary that I have was like, you go actually take a culinary arts lesson with a local family in their home, or like things that are harder to do, right? Or learn about the Silk Road, while you're going on a camel safari. go to a marine conservation center for sea turtles. So there's always the conservation, cultural, and spiritual components as well, as it's for each location, right? And yeah, so I just wanted, I mean, because these are the kind of trips that my family goes on. So like, I want other people to be able to do that too. So, and then I know how hard it is to trust the sources. So that's why I work with in tandem with a dear friend that is also been a colleague in that space with me when I worked in it for a long time. And yeah, we co-authored an article. It was years ago, and I've mentioned it to my community and on social media too. It's like 2006 or 7, or I don't remember, but about respect of the commoditization of the sacred. So we wrote this article for the UN World Tourism Organization, and then just seeing how like ayahuasca and like how like all of this is being commoditized now. And so just like if you want to go have a traditional ceremony, making sure you find someone who's doing it in the proper way, ethically, as well as for their knowledge base, as well as sharing it properly with you. So it's not, yeah, that's a big topic anyway. So anyways, but yeah, so just bringing these experiences to people, and yeah, so that's why I'm just dabbling in that. And then, but yeah, you can always reach out, and then also I'll be offering more youth things. This is just the beginning.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Great conversation. And it's so good catching up with you because it's been
I
a little bit.
know. No, thank you
couple
for
years
having me
now.
on again. It's so lovely. It's always nice to be in your world and your energy.
And yours
So nice.
too. And
Same. Yeah.
kind of like you say, stepping up, these are ways that I believe make a difference. That we make these kinds of community connections, even if we haven't seen each other for a couple of years, the community connection and that networking energy, not so much about networking like in the corporate idea, but the just that energetic networking that I think happens when we
Yeah.
do these kinds of things and share messages and gifts. So thank you for sharing your gifts.
And thank you too
All
for
the
sharing
ways you
yours.
do.
It's
Yeah.
always inspiring to just follow you guys and see what you're up to and what you're putting out into the world. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. The endless list.
Yeah.
Like you say.
We are very aware. It's on the list.
We're aware.
Well, yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Robyn, anything else?
No, I think that's good. You can always, of course, find us at reikilifestyle.com, and then Rosalyn's at livehealtravel.com. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. And I hope it's, I'm just like, this lighting is like not the best.
Oh,
Oh, mine too.
no, you're good.
Oh no, I'm just
look,
like, I noticed
if I
how
open
throughout
my
this.
curtains right here, it's
I
fine.
didn't
This
even,
is
we didn't even notice. And
Oh,
I
good, because
love
like
that
the
you're
beginning
saying
of the
that right
call, it
now.
was so cloudy, and so I had all the curtains over there open, and so I had a little light on, and then the sun has been coming out, and like,
No,
so
you're good. It's all real life.
a nice glowy effect, I suppose.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Well, I love it because, oh, she did stop the recording. I was going to, oh, the recording
No,
is still going.
still going.
I
We're gonna,
love it
yeah,
because it's so real life Reiki.
yeah,
It's so
real
such
life.
a perfect example of just real life Reiki.
Oh, too funny.
Oh, thank you so much, Rosalyn.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna say bye to the audience.
Bye to
We're gonna
everybody.
go ahead and
Thank
stop the
you.
recording. Thank you so much.